Picture this: the roar of an engine at dawn, a winding road, and a car that for decades has defined what it means to drive for the thrill of it. Now, silence. Or nearly so. The iconic Volkswagen Golf GTI, beloved by generations for its punchy performance and unmistakable growl, is about to go fully electric. And this quest to reinvent a legend just might decide the future of the entire hot hatch segment, and maybe even the heart of car culture itself. Can Volkswagen really electrify the GTI without losing everything that made it special? Or are we witnessing the ultimate transformation, where a classic evolves or vanishes under the relentless pressure of technology and environmental change? Today, we dig deep into the story, the stakes, and the storm of opinions swirling around the all-electric GTI. Buckle up. We're racing into uncharted territory, and the finish line is anything but certain. For nearly half a century, the Volkswagen Golf GTI has been more than just a car. It's been a symbol of speed you could afford, style without pretension, and the joy of the open road. Launched in 1976 almost as a skunkworks project, the first GTI broke every rule. It packed a lively 1.6-liter engine into a sensible hatchback form, stripping away the boring and injecting pure driving fun. What started as a run of just 5,000 cars exploded into a global phenomenon, outselling expectations and creating a cult following. Mark I, whisper-thin seats, red-striped grille, and a sense of purpose. This was democracy on wheels, the sports car for everyone. Over 8 generations, the GTI adapted, gaining power, safety, tech, even a dash of luxury, but always circling back to 3 core ingredients: front-wheel drive, punchy power, and an everyday-friendly price. By the time the Club Sport Edition topped out at 250 km/h, the GTI had cemented itself as the definitive hot hatch. Affordable, practical, but thrilling when you asked for it. The phrase GTI DNA became shorthand for what enthusiasts crave, a blend of agility, responsiveness, and that slightly rebellious streak. But now, everything is about to change. As the world turns away from combustion engines, governments tighten emissions limits, and buyers face rising fuel costs and climate fears, Volkswagen is preparing the most radical GTI ever, not just an evolution, but a complete reboot. The next generation Golf GTI will be fully electric, built on VW Group's all-new SSP platform, a technological Swiss Army knife designed for everything from city cars to luxury SUVs. The company's CEO, Thomas Schaefer, recently promised, "It'll be a monster car." Can he deliver on that bold claim? It's a make-or-break moment. Develop the electric GTI right, and Volkswagen could redefine an icon for the 21st century, win over a new generation of enthusiasts, and lead the EV hot hatch revolution. Get it wrong, and the GTI risks becoming another casualty of nostalgia, a nameplate with no soul for an audience that's moved on. Let's rewind for a second and dive into what actually makes a GTI, well, a GTI. According to Schaefer, it has to be exciting, it has to be authentic, it has to be a true GTI. That means more than just headline numbers or technical specs. It's about emotion, the way the car responds, the sensation of grip as you slice through a curve, the sound and feedback that make every journey feel special. For the original GTI, this magic came from simple but clever engineering: lightweight build, sharp steering, and just enough power to keep things lively without overwhelming the front wheels. The formula was an open secret, but no rival quite matched it. But electric cars don't play by the old rules. The instant torque of an electric motor is addictive. 330 horsepower or more is expected for the new e-GTI, a huge jump from the original's modest 108 bhp. But the silence, the absence of shifting gears or exhaust notes, changes the entire emotional landscape. As one automotive analyst told CNBC, VW faces pressure to deliver a compelling EV hot hatch experience that retains the GTI's spirit. Volkswagen is keenly aware that it can't just slap a GTI badge on any EV with a fast Euro 60 time. The plan is to stick to front-wheel drive for the e-GTI, maintaining that classic GTI handling feel, even while the rest of the industry experiments with all-wheel drive and rear motor layouts. Meanwhile, digital design tools are allowing engineers to fine-tune everything, positioning the battery for a low center of gravity, optimizing weight distribution, even simulating what the driver will see and touch before a physical prototype is built. VW is betting big on the flexibility of the SSP platform, which will underpin not just the Golf, but everything from Skoda to Lamborghini. If this architecture works, the group could capitalize on massive economies of scale, cutting costs while pushing performance forward, an automotive moonshot. But here's the twist. Performance is only part of the story. The GTI's appeal has always been about affordable thrills. As AutoTrader UK notes, the electric GTI needs to offer a unique value proposition to stand out in a competitive EV market. Can VW keep the price in reach of everyday enthusiasts? Batteries are expensive, and many hot hatches today are wandering into premium territory. If sticker shock kills accessibility, the soul of the GTI may be lost before the first e-GTI even rolls off the line. And then there's the matter of character. Critics and fans alike are asking, if the visceral sound, the familiar manual gearbox, and the analog feel are gone, what's left? Hyundai's Ioniq 5N, a direct competitor, has gone so far as to add fake engine sounds, simulated gear shifts, and even a drift mode to recapture some of that old-school magic. Will VW follow suit, or risk alienating purists? Schaefer hints that the more extreme, playful features might be saved for the upcoming electric Golf R, leaving the GTI to find its own new voice. But the biggest obstacle may be far outside the engineering labs. Success could hinge on a web of factors that have little to do with hardware, from the whims of government incentives, to the rollout of charging stations, to the unpredictable moods of consumers. The SMMT, the UK's leading motor industry association, warns that government incentives are crucial to driving consumer adoption of electric vehicles, including performance models. At the same time, Consumer Reports points out that consumer acceptance of electric hot hatches will depend on performance, range, and charging infrastructure. For many, there's still the question, is an electric hot hatch even something buyers want? Environmental advocates, meanwhile, argue that a new GTI must deliver real carbon savings, not just a greener brand image. The Environmental Defense Fund bluntly states, automakers must prioritize full life cycle emissions reductions, not just tailpipe emissions. Building batteries, sourcing materials, and powering EVs all come with environmental costs. VW must demonstrate that the new GTI doesn't just shift pollution from exhaust pipes to power plants, or risk a backlash from both regulators and buyers. Against this backdrop, the competition is only heating up. Every major automaker is scrambling to launch their own electric performance models. As the hot hatch battlefield moves from gas stations to charging plugs, brands like Hyundai, Tesla, and even upstarts from China are circling, hungry to steal VW's crown. All these challenges set the stage for the high-stakes gamble that is the all-electric Golf GTI. Will it be a revolution or an expensive misfire? Inside VW, prototyping is moving fast. Schaefer himself has taken the wheel of early development versions, describing the experience as mind-blowing. He teases, what about the sound? What about the total feel, the handling, and so on? It can be done. The team is working to deliver a driving experience that's both unmistakably modern and deeply rooted in GTI tradition. On screen and in VR simulators, engineers and designers are obsessing over every detail, from the layout of the dashboard to the placement of the pedals and the calibration of the regenerative brakes. Enthusiasts online debate every leak and spy shot. Can the new GTI possibly live up to 5 decades of hype? Will the shift to electric give us a better car, or just a fast, soulless machine wearing a legendary badge? One thing's for sure, the future of Volkswagen's most famous badge, and maybe the soul of the hot hatch itself, hangs in the balance. As the e-GTI prepares for launch, the world holds its breath. But the story is far from over. What breakthroughs, or breakdowns, await as VW drives full throttle into the unknown? And what will it actually feel like to sit behind the wheel of the first all-electric GTI? When Volkswagen first announced its intention to electrify the GTI, the reactions from fans, skeptics, and the wider automotive world ranged from cautious optimism to outright disbelief. Could the very essence of the GTI, its cheeky, go-kart-like agility and grin-inducing acceleration, survive the transition to electrons and software? Or would the e-GTI become just another EV, lost in a sea of sterile, soundless performance cars? Now, with the prototypes of the electric GTI prowling the test tracks, the answers are beginning to emerge, and with them, a fresh wave of intrigue and consequence for the future of not just the GTI, but hot hatches, performance cars, and even Volkswagen itself. Let's start with what's at stake. The Golf GTI isn't merely a badge, it's an institution, revered by generations for democratizing driving fun. Its leap into electric territory is a bellwether, not just for VW but for the whole industry's approach to electrified driving excitement. At the heart of this transformation is the SSP platform. Think of it as the master key for VW's electric future, scalable, modular, and engineered to accommodate everything from sensible family cars to fire-breathing hot hatches and even super luxury machines. For the eGTI, SSP brings more than just a new chassis. It delivers real technical muscle. Over 300 horsepower available with a stomp of your right foot, torque delivered with digital precision, and the promise of new electronic wizardry to help recapture the feisty edge that made the GTI famous. But will it work? There are risks galore. Volkswagen must walk a tightrope. One misstep in handling, feedback, or even design, and decades of GTI heritage could be diluted in an instant. As Thomas Schaefer, Volkswagen's CEO, put it, "It has to be exciting, it has to be authentic, it has to be a true GTI." Part of the intrigue lies in the drive, literally. Early reports from those lucky enough to sample the eGTI prototype hint at a machine that's lively, eager, and surprisingly engaging. Gone is the burble of the turbocharged four-cylinder, sure, but in its place is a tidal wave of instant torque and a chassis tuned for the classic front-wheel drive antics that the GTI pioneered. Schaefer himself described the first test laps as mind-blowing. According to one engineer, "We wanted to engineer a smile on your face at any speed. If you love the old GTI, you'll get this." VW isn't stopping at raw performance numbers. To answer the critics who mourn the loss of sound and sensation in many EVs, the company is reportedly experimenting with synthetic but tastefully tuned engine sounds, and even digital gearshift simulations. Will this be enough to satisfy die-hard enthusiasts? The jury's still out. Some fans say it's heresy, others are just happy VW is making the effort. The competitive pressure is fierce. Hyundai's Ioniq 5N, for instance, has set a new bar with its playful, drift-ready electronics and clever tricks that channel the spirit of classic hot hatches. Volkswagen knows it can't afford a misfire. If the eGTI nails it, VW could reclaim the driver's car crown for the EV era. If not, others stand ready to fill the void. But for all the drama around performance, another challenge looms: range and charging. As Consumer Reports notes, consumer acceptance of electric hot hatches will depend on performance, range, and charging infrastructure. The eGTI must be thrilling, yes, but if it can't also cover real-world distances and charge quickly, it risks missing a whole generation of buyers, the very people who picked the GTI for its do-it-all nature. Another crucial piece: value. The original Golf GTI won hearts not just with speed, but with affordability. Can the eGTI remain accessible, or will it become a niche toy for the wealthy? VW says the SSP platform's component sharing will help keep costs in check, but with battery prices still significant, offering old-school hot hatch value will be a tall order. And then there's the emotional connection. The GTI's magic was always about more than numbers. It's about memories. The first time you took a roundabout a bit too quickly, the road trips with friends, the sense of community at every GTI meet. Can software and electrons recreate that spark? Or will the eGTI's soul be, dare we say it, digital? What's clear is that Volkswagen is betting big on the idea that the next generation craves more than mere transportation. VW's designers are working in virtual reality, tweaking every detail before the first prototype is even built. This approach lets them channel decades of heritage into pixels before sheet metal is ever cut. As Schaefer explains, "We know what the vehicle looks like, and we can sit virtually in the vehicle." It's a brave new world where the magic of the GTI is engineered as much in software as in steel. Let's consider the consequences if VW pulls this off. If the eGTI delivers, it could reset expectations for electric performance cars worldwide. Every automaker from Ford to Toyota, even Tesla, will be watching and learning. Remember, the first GTI didn't just create a car, it created a segment. The electric revolution in hot hatches could follow the same path. Performance, once linked to fumes and fuel, could instead be defined by silent speed, digital cleverness, and a new kind of accessibility. Of course, there's the flip side. If the new GTI fails to win over both old fans and new buyers, the damage could be deep. The GTI badge could lose its relevance, and Volkswagen's electric ambitions would take a hit. In an age where brand is everything, can VW afford to let an icon go out with a whimper? The stakes couldn't be higher. For the broader industry, Success for the eGTI would be a turning point. It would prove that EVs aren't just for city commuters or eco-warriors. They can be thrilling, emotional, and above all, fun. The pressure is on not just from other automakers, but from environmental expectations and policy. As the Environmental Defense Fund says, automakers must prioritize full life cycle emissions reductions, not just tailpipe emissions. For Volkswagen, that means ensuring every aspect of the eGTI, its manufacturing, its battery sourcing, even its eventual recycling, sets a new benchmark for green performance. What does all this mean for you, the viewer? Why should the saga of the electric GTI matter to anyone who loves cars or even to someone just looking for their next ride? First, it's a sign of where the whole market is heading. The eGTI represents not just a shift in VW's lineup, but a philosophical change in what performance cars can and should be. For decades, enthusiasts have lamented the gradual loss of analog joy in favor of digital convenience. Now, with the electric GTI, we may see these two worlds collide, a chance to keep the fun but swap the fossil fuels for electrons. If you're a current GTI owner or just a fan of fast hatchbacks, this is your chance to witness history in motion. Your voices, your feedback, your enthusiasm, or skepticism will help shape how brands approach performance in the EV age. VW is listening, as are its competitors. If you demand real engagement, character, and value, the market will follow. For those weighing their next car purchase, the electric GTI presents an interesting dilemma. On one hand, the internal combustion engine's days are clearly numbered. On the other, the first wave of EVs was, let's face it, a bit bland for driving enthusiasts. The new breed, led by cars like the eGTI, promises something different: performance without guilt, fun without noise, and a digital edge that amplifies, rather than numbs, the driving experience. The lesson? Don't write off the future just because it doesn't sound like your past. History shows that every time the GTI has reinvented itself, whether with fuel injection, turbocharging, or now electrification, it's found new ways to delight its fans. There will be differences, absolutely. Some things will be lost, but new joys will be found. Be open to them. For the engineers and designers among you, the eGTI is a masterclass in balancing tradition with innovation. How do you keep a car's soul alive when the very heart, the engine, is gone? VW's answer: focus on feeling. Simulate sound, engineer feedback, and prioritize the driving experience as much as the numbers. It's a blueprint for anyone facing the challenge of reimagining an icon for a new era. And for those with an eye on the environment, the arrival of a truly exciting electric hot hatch could help mainstream EVs in a way no bland family sedan ever could. When the coolest car in the school parking lot makes zero emissions, attitudes can change fast. As UK industry experts note, government incentives will play a role, but it's emotional buy-in from drivers that will make the difference. So what happens next? The coming years will be decisive. VW is already deep into digital prototyping, with the first physical eGTIs on the horizon. Consumer clinics, drive events, and a blitz of testing will determine the car's final feel. Meanwhile, rivals aren't standing still. Expect a golden age, or perhaps a new arms race, of electric hot hatches, each one hoping to capture your heart. Will the driving experience measure up? Early verdicts suggest that VW is in with a fighting chance. The instant torque, the playful handling, and the promise of new digital playthings all give hope that the eGTI can wear the badge with pride. But the dynamic is shifting. The community will decide what matters most. Is it the sound, the sensation, the value, or is it just the knowledge that you're driving something that moves the world forward without polluting it? One secret fact we uncovered from industry insiders: the eGTI's development team has a standing challenge with every new prototype. If a single test driver doesn't get out grinning, that prototype goes back for more tuning. The goal isn't just Euro 60 times or kilowatt hours, it's smiles per mile. And that, perhaps, is the truest legacy of the GTI, a spirit Volkswagen is determined to carry into the electric age. So, can Volkswagen create an electric GTI that thrills both old fans and new buyers, and delivers an experience worthy of a legend? All signs point to a resounding yes, if, and only if, they honor the spirit of fun, accessibility, and innovation that made the GTI a household name. The final verdict will come with your first drive, but the signs are there, the torch is ready to be passed. Now we want to hear from you. Would the electric GTI tempt you out of your gasoline-powered comfort zone? What would it take for you to call it a true GTI? Share your thoughts down below. Don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates on the eGTI saga.